The average certified medical biller is making about $64,000 a year, while the average certified medical coder is making about $66,000 a year. Now, there's a lot of nuance that goes into salary. Things like where are you located, how many years of experience do you have, what credentials do you have, which is what we're going to break down today on the fifth annual AAPC Salary Review. Hey there, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator. And on my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. If you haven't already, highly encourage you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get alerts when I post new episodes. Every year, the AAPC sends out a survey to all of its members, and they report their information of their salary, where they're located, how many years of experience they have, so that they can publish a salary review in their magazine every year. Now, if you're not familiar with this, as an AAPC member, you automatically get AAPC, the magazine. You can find it on the website. You have to be logged in to access them. But you go into resources and then AAPC, the magazine, and it will bring you to this page about AAPC, the magazine, and you can find the entire archive of all of the issues located here. And every year around the February issue, they publish their salary survey. So that's all the information that's obtained from AAPC members. So it's very important to understand that this is self-reported information from AAPC members. It's not that they're getting this information directly from employers, and it could be skewed if, for example, there's a lot of members that are like, oh, hey, I'm making so much money, I definitely want to fill out this salary survey to let everybody know, versus members who are maybe like, oh, I don't make a lot of money, I don't really want to bother with this, and I'm not going to fill out the survey. So it is fully dependent on who is self-reporting out this information of the salary survey that goes out just to AAPC members. So AHIMA isn't included this. The NHA is not included in this. NAMUS is not included in this. This is literally just AAPC membership self-reporting, because they even outline here that of their 260,000-ish members, only about 25,000 of them reported out their information voluntarily in the salary survey. I want to start out though with saying that they have noted here that the salaries for AAPC members are kind of showing that they're a little bit inflation proof. They start out here talking about salaries historically have kind of kept up with inflation, right? October 2024, inflation amounted to about 2.6% and wages grew about 4.6%. But when we look at, for example, like our CPCs, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but like the CPC salary for 2023 versus 2024 only went up about 3%, which is still pretty good. Unemployment among coders has thankfully decreased. We did see a huge spike around the COVID-19 pandemic here in 2020, but we can see that it has pretty overall decreased. They do separate the overall membership versus the CPC, which is the most popular credential, versus the people who are in an apprenticeship status. So even that has gone down pretty significantly. We're seeing a lot less unemployed apprentice coders, and understandably there would be a little bit more unemployment there because they're just starting out and still looking for that first position. Now, the AAPC does provide some information here about kind of how to use the data. So this isn't a tool that you go directly to your employer and go, hey, I saw that coders with my credential are making this amount of money and that means I should be making this amount of money. But it is something that you could use as a negotiation tactic, as a reference point. And again, understand that the credential itself doesn't necessarily mean, hey, I should be making that amount of money. There's other components that are in there, such as geographic area and your years of experience as well. And it is good to see that the CPCs are seeing a decrease in their unemployment rate, so well below the national average. But let's take a look at some of the data here that we have on the next page, because this is where it really starts getting interesting. We have a couple of graphs here, graphs of people who have, for example, certain credentials or two or more credentials. And when we look at this, there's always a big, heavy amount for AAPC approved instructors. A lot of them are working independently. They are independent business owners, so they have a higher salary based off of the fact that they are working for themselves. So associated with that might also be some higher business expenses though as well. One thing I like to point out is when people look at this, they like to see what is the highest paying credentials, who's making the most. So like, what credentials do I want to possibly pursue if I am looking at maximizing my income? So obviously instructor, compliance officer is another big one. But way down here, we saw this huge increase to the CPCP. So you might be wondering what the heck a CPCP is. Certified Professional Coder Payer. But if you're looking at this and thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, like I've never heard of that credential before, there's a reason for that. That credential was archived quite some time ago. And I don't think this was actually really explained appropriately in this article. So they say about how there was this dramatic salary increase for the CPCP of 21.8%. Well, the interesting thing about the CPCP is it's archived. No one's been able to test for it in a while. And I was wondering to myself, like, how long has it been since anyone's been able to test for this? And I couldn't find any information on the AAPC website. So I actually had to pull up the Internet Archive at archive.org and take a trip in the Wayback Machine. So I was actually able to bring up a snapshot of what the website looked like back in September of 2018 because I couldn't find any current information about the archived coding credentials. So chiropractic, plastic, foot and ankle, otolaryngology, internal medicine, and the payer credential, you have not been able to test for a long, long time. And it's actually been since May 8th of 2017. So at this point at the time of recording, that's almost 8 years ago that no one's been able to even test for these credentials because there wasn't enough interest in them that it offset the cost of updating all the information, publishing study guides, printing them out, selling them, doing training, all of this and that all that upkeep. It wasn't enough of an interest that people were testing for these credentials in order to offset that cost. So for almost 8 years, no one's been able to take that CPCP credential, which means everyone who has a CPCP has at least 8 years of experience in this field. And it also means that there's likely a very small number of people who self reported that they have the CPCP and what their salary is. And since they are people who have been in the industry for a long period of time, they likely have higher salaries. So if only 4 people reported and they all had very high salaries because they've been in this industry for over 8 years, obviously it's going to look like they're making a ton of money. But let's go back to looking at the salary survey. The other thing I like to draw your attention to is people who have more credentials make more money. It also takes time to earn those credentials. So when you see someone who has 2 or 3 or 4 credentials, it also means that they've likely been in the industry for a longer period of time. They've maybe shifted jobs and gotten pay increases because of that. So it doesn't mean that just because you have 3 credentials and you tested for them really quick, that automatically you're going to make $84,000. It just means that those people that are reporting that they have 3 or more credentials who are more experienced, have been in the industry for a longer period of time, are going to be making more money. Now, you can use this as a negotiation tactic, but again, your years of experience will become part of that. Just stacking up credentials as fast as possible is only going to pay a portion of that, right? We have here that they report, obviously people who have 3 or more are making more than 2 or more, which makes sense. But some of the more profitable ones are compliance officers. And compliance officer, a lot of times people who are working in healthcare as compliance officers have a few years experience under their belt. They've been working somewhere else in the hospital. They've grown some expertise and then have shifted over into compliance. Compliance isn't often one that people get an entry level position in. It's one that more people shift in as they get some experience in healthcare. Not to say that it doesn't happen that people can get a degree or some sort of training and go right into compliance, but not quite as likely. And that's not likely what's being reported on this survey. It's more likely that the people who have several years of experience in healthcare and now are getting certified as compliance officers are reporting out. So some of the lower ones on the gamut are just your general CPB and CPC, though still very, very good salaries. They do also break down the people who have years of experience. Over here, this is the years of experience table. So table 2 here is the years on the job. And you can see we have, and they kind of group everyone together and we'll say in general, medical record specialists, but I think they more so mean like the AAPC members that are self-reporting. So people on average for all I'm guessing every AAPC member, years of experience, 0 to 1, 44,969 was reported based off of the 2024 data that we have. And then it does go up considerably after several years. Another thing that can impact is education. Now, the thing that I find particularly interesting about some of the education aspects is that the salaries of someone who has no college, some college, or a bachelor's degree, there's not really a significant increase. I think there's a lot of positions in revenue cycle and in medical billing and coding where they are like, we might prefer an associate's degree, but if you have good enough experience, we don't require you to have a bachelor's degree. There are a lot of positions in director and more C suite type positions that will require a master's degree. So you can see the jump there. But there really is not a huge, significant change between no college or an associate's degree, and then there's a slight one for bachelor's degree. And we are starting to see more coders and billers that are later in life deciding to go for their bachelor's degree. I know a lot of friends that have gone through WGU and they love that because it's kind of very self-paced and there's a lot of things that they can almost like test out of. WGU, if you're out there, feel free to hit me up if you would like to sponsor the channel. One of the other things that they draw attention to here is that your location can impact that too. So are you working with a practitioner's office where it's just a solo practitioner versus are you working with a large hospital or healthcare system? So there is some breakdown of that here. And it looks like people who are earning the highest are working for those large health systems, those systems where they own a hospital and they own providers' offices and they're doing all kinds of different things within healthcare. Those are the people who tend to make the higher salaries because they have more to work with in finances in larger organizations versus these small solo practices, which you might be making a smaller amount, but they might have some more flexibility there. It might be a better environment for you, even. Geography also plays a big factor into your salary. So I'm over here in the Mid Atlantic region, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, which is at almost $70,000 on average, just based off of that region, versus some areas over here like the Pacific, where we're talking about California, Alaska, Hawaii, etc., higher cost of living and therefore higher salary. So an average of $75,000 a year. The lowest, I believe, is usually down here in the South. So it looks like it's East, South, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi, Tennessee. Average about 60,000. Now, there used to be some good advice, and then I used to even issue this and say, "Hell, well, maybe if you can find a company that's located in California, even if you're in Mississippi, they'll pay you more because the cost of living is higher in California." We're actually starting to see some shift in the industry where certain states are saying, "Hey, we know we're located in California and you can work remotely, but we want someone who works in this state just because of unusual laws, tax regulations, et cetera, that are going on." Not covered in this survey as well is salaries for people who are located outside of the United States. So I know I have some viewers that are from India, Pakistan, Egypt, and they ask me, "Hey, well, can I come work in the United States and make what a US based coder is?" Typically, no. We don't usually need to have people come in from other countries. It's really not necessary to have someone come in on a work visa, for example, so that they can work in medical billing and coding. And when we offshore medical records for any particular reason, if a company chooses to do that, they do that for cost savings. They do that because they can pay someone overseas considerably less than they would have to for US based coders. Although now that we are starting to see us being able to code faster due to some of the tools that we're getting with automation, with machine learning, I would expect that we may see less offshoring of medical records in the future. Now, this graph is how many hours coders are working per week. So there's very few that are working only like less than 10 hours, a very part-time basis. Most people are reporting they're working a good, steady, solid 40 hours a week. There are some that are working a couple extra hours. Most people are not working more than 50, just a small percent. Probably those people that are making the higher salaries that have the master's degrees are working more than 50 hours, or people who just want to maximize their earning potential, that they're working maybe two positions remotely, that they may have a 40-hour job and taking on some contract work on the side, which is something that you can do if you are willing to kind of hustle for a period of time to maximize your earning potential. So I would suspect that these 41 to 50% are probably people who are maybe working in management, so they're working a few extra hours maybe every week, or people who are working a 40-hour work week and then maybe working an extra 8 or so hours on the side, like one extra day as a contractor. Now, in this industry, people have been working remotely for a long, long period of time. It used to be, however, that you would need to meet certain criteria in order to work from home. You would have to have a certain accuracy level and speed level and work in person, and then you could go work from home. But now we're starting to see people working remotely from day one. And about 65.7% of those reporting on the salary survey is saying that they are working fully remote. About 14.1 saying a combination, and then only about 20% of people are working on site. Now, I do also want to mention a lot of the people that are working on site are maybe people who are working in compliance. They're working in auditing. They have to go and meet with providers. They have to be there in person. And oftentimes, even if you don't want to go on site, there's a lot of earning potential in those positions where you do have to go on site. And then I like that they report job satisfaction. So most people are either very or somewhat satisfied with their position. So almost half very satisfied, and then almost half again somewhat satisfied. Very few people are either somewhat dissatisfied, very dissatisfied, or have no opinion on the satisfaction level at their job. So it's good to see that most people are seeing job increases. We're seeing less unemployment and that people are also fairly satisfied with their job. I like to say it should be like an 80-20 give. Like 80% of the things you do at your job, you should enjoy or relatively feel comfortable and confident in doing. But there might be like upwards of 20% that you're like, oh, this is definitely not a preferred task, but I will tackle it. And if it starts to kind of sway too far in the other direction, that's probably when you're a little bit more dissatisfied and might start thinking, maybe time to find a new job. They have some insights over here about why some of those people were not satisfied or why they might be looking for other opportunities out there. And they have the top 5 reasons are either they want more money, they want to advance, they want to work remotely, they want to make better use of their skills and knowledge, or they just don't like the work environment. So there's definitely some positive information here about the AAPC salary survey. People are pretty satisfied with their jobs. They're getting increases in pay. Unemployment's going down, which is great to see. However, I will say that if you're looking for more specified salary information, you can also check out the AAPC salary calculator. So if you want more information particular to your state and to your job responsibility, to your role, to your certifications, to your type of employer, you can tool around with the AAPC salary calculator. I will link this below, but you can also just go into Google and type in AAPC salary calculator and you should be able to find it. Anyway, I hope you found this information helpful. Let me know in the comments if you are working in medical billing and coding and you found the information in the salary survey to be comparable to what you yourself are getting paid or reimbursed in your job. I would really love to see some of the insights. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.